Broken wings on the highway. It was a lonely night on the old desert highway. The road was quiet. Only wind and dust moved in the cold air. Suddenly, bright headlights cut through the darkness. A large pickup truck came speeding down the road. Music blasting, tires screaming. The driver didn't see her. Or maybe he didn't care. The truck hit something. It made a loud thump, like metal smashing into flesh. The driver slowed for a second, then hit the gas and disappeared into the night. Behind him, something lay twisted on the ground. It wasn't human. A young alien woman lay on the side of the highway. Her skin was pale silver, almost glowing under the moonlight. Her body was shaking and strange golden blood spilled from a wound in her side. She tried to move, but one of her legs was clearly broken. A small glowing device slipped from her hand and rolled into the sand. She tried to speak, but her lips only whispered one word in a broken voice. Please. For hours no one came. Cars passed, but none stopped. She was just a shape in the dark, too strange to help, too easy to ignore. But then, as the sky turned purple with morning light, an old beat-up car came down the road. The driver was a man named Ethan. He was a human mechanic, coming home after a long, lonely night shift. As his car rolled past, something in his mirror caught his eye. A shimmer, a shape, maybe a person. He slowed down and pulled over. What the hell was that? He walked toward the figure, careful but curious. At first, he thought it was a girl in costume or maybe someone hurt, but as he got closer, he stopped. This wasn't human. Her face was beautiful, but not like anything from Earth. Her eyes were large, glowing with soft purple light. Her ears were pointed and her hair was silver like threads of metal. Her arm was bent at a strange angle and her breathing was slow. Too slow. Hey, can you hear me? Ethan asked, kneeling beside her. Her lips moved. Help. Ethan froze. His heart was pounding. Every instinct told him to walk away, to call someone else. But then she looked at him with those eyes. Not dangerous. Just scared. He pulled off his jacket and gently wrapped it around her. It's okay, he whispered. You're gonna be okay. He looked around. No cameras, no witnesses, no time to think. He had to move fast. Ethan picked her up, surprised by how light she was. Her head rested against his chest. She smelled like metal and flowers. His old car groaned as he laid her across the back seat. I must be insane, he muttered, slamming the door and speeding off. Back at his garage, Ethan carried her inside, placing her on a workbench with some blankets. He didn't know alien biology, but he cleaned her wounds the best he could. The golden blood didn't clot like human blood. Her bones were too flexible. Her skin sparkled under the light. She opened her eyes again, panicked. Where am I? She whispered. You're safe, Ethan said. I found you on the highway. You were hit. Do you remember? She nodded slowly, tears in her glowing eyes. They hit me. On purpose. Ethan frowned. They? Who? She winced in pain. Chasers, from the stars. I ran, they found me. Ethan blinked. Wait, are you saying someone tried to kill you? Here? She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed weakly toward the door. They'll come. They always come. Then her hand reached into her cloak and pulled out a small glowing device. She pushed it into his hand. Hide it. Don't let them. Find it. Who are they? Ethan asked. But she had already passed out. Ethan stood there holding the strange device, looking down at the alien girl he had just saved. In the distance, a dark van drove slowly past the road outside. Its windows were tinted. Inside, someone scanned the area. The screen beeped. A red dot blinked. The hunt had begun. She's not from here. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat in his dusty garage, staring at the strange alien girl resting on the old couch wrapped in his army blanket. Her skin glowed softly under the dim light bulb like moonlight captured in silver. Her chest rose and fell slowly. She was breathing, but barely. The strange device she gave him was still in his pocket. It pulsed warm and alive like it had a heartbeat. Ethan had questions, but more than anything, he had worry. Outside, wind howled across the desert. The night was cold and the roads were silent. But in Ethan's mind, everything was loud. Too loud. What had he gotten himself into? Suddenly, the girl groaned. She sat up fast, too fast, and then gasped in pain, holding her side. Ethan rushed over. "Easy. You're still hurt," he said, placing his hands out to stop her. She flinched from his touch. "No harm," he said gently, backing away. "You're safe. I won't hurt you." The girl looked around. Her violet eyes were filled with fear and confusion. This is not a ship," she whispered. "It's my workshop," Ethan said. "You were lying in the dirt, got hit by a truck. I brought you here." She blinked. "Truck?" Ethan pointed to a small toy truck on a shelf. "Like that, but bigger. It hit you and kept going." She looked down, remembering. Her face tightened. "They hit me. On purpose." Ethan took a breath. "You said they. Who's chasing? You?" She hesitated. Her eyes darted to the door, then back at him. "You are not one of them," she said softly. "You are human?" Ethan nodded. "Yep, 100% Earthborn. And you're not from here, are you?" She touched her own chest. "My name is Sarah, daughter of House Urin." "Okay, Sarah," Ethan said, pulling up a chair. "I'm Ethan, just a mechanic. This is a garage, not a palace." "Sorry," she looked confused. "Mechanic?" "I fix things, mostly broken engines, not usually broken aliens." Sarah looked down at her hands, then at the bandages he had wrapped around her ribs. "You helped me," she said, almost in disbelief. "Why?" Ethan shrugged. "You were bleeding. I couldn't just leave you there." She was silent for a moment. Then she whispered, "They would have." Ethan leaned forward. "Who are they, Sarah? Why are they after you?" She hesitated again. Her eyes were filled with pain, but not just from the injury. "I was supposed to marry someone, for peace between worlds, but I ran. They said I shamed the royal bond. Now they want me erased. Quietly. No war. No noise." Ethan sat back, shocked. "They sent people to kill you, just for saying no?" She nodded. "On my world, duty matters more than soul." Ethan shook his head. "That's messed up." Sarah clutched the blanket tighter around her. "You don't understand. My blood and my family is powerful. But without loyalty, they say I'm nothing. They hunt me like prey." Ethan stood and started pacing. "So you ran? Came to Earth to hide?" "I didn't plan it," she said. "My ship was damaged. I crashed weeks ago in your desert. I lived in shadows. Then they found me. I ran again. Until that truck," Ethan added. She nodded. Then her voice changed. "You are in danger now." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Because I helped you?" "They will track the signal. The device I gave you. It holds a code. A memory chain. They want it destroyed. If they know you touched it, they won't let you live." Ethan frowned. He pulled the device from his pocket and placed it on the table. It pulsed gently like it was alive. "What's in this thing?" he asked. She looked away. "The truth of my kind, of my choice. It could start a war or stop one." Ethan leaned on the table. "Then maybe it's worth protecting." Sarah's eyes widened. "You are strange for a human." He chuckled. "You're strange for anyone." For the first time, she smiled. Just a little. It made her face seem less alien, more alive. But the moment passed quickly. A low hum filled the air. Something outside was approaching. Sarah stood fast, wobbling. Ethan caught her before she fell. "They found me," she whispered. "They're here." Ethan grabbed the device and hid it in a hollow toolbox under the floorboards. Then he grabbed his old wrench. "If they're coming," he said, "they're not getting through me." Sarah looked at him, truly stunned. "No one ever stood for me before," she whispered. Ethan looked back at her, steady and calm. "Welcome to Earth." The one who watches from the sky. A deep hum rolled across the desert, soft at first like a vibration under the floor. Ethan's tools began to rattle. The windows of the garage shivered. Something was in the sky, and it wasn't human. Sarah stood near the door, her eyes glowing brighter now, locked onto the stars outside. Her voice was a whisper. "They're here." Ethan moved beside her, clutching an old metal wrench. He peeked through a crack in the door. There was nothing. Then, the sky shimmered. It was like space itself had folded, just above the tree line. A smooth black shape hovered there, no wings, no lights, no sound. A hunter craft invisible to most Earth tech, but clearly watching, waiting. "They don't rush," Sarah said, her voice cold. "They want fear to settle in first." Ethan closed the door. "They want a show? Fine, they'll get one." He grabbed his old toolbox, stuffed it with the device, and slid it under a pile of scrap metal. Then he turned to Sarah. "You're not running anymore," he said. "You rest. I'll buy you time." "You don't have to fight for me," she said. "You don't even know me." "I know someone left you to die, and I'm not like them," Ethan replied. Before Sarah could answer, a beam of light scanned the roof. It moved slowly, like a spotlight from above. Then a voice echoed in the air, deep and unnatural. "Surrender the traitor. This is your only warning." Sarah shivered. Ethan stepped outside before she could stop him. He walked into the open yard, looking up at the hovering craft. "I don't know what the hell you are," he shouted. "But no one gave me any traitor." The voice responded again, louder this time. "You have 10 minutes. Do not resist. Human flesh is weak." Ethan grinned. "Guess you've never met a mechanic from Texas." He walked back inside. "Okay, we have less than 10 minutes. Any ideas?" Sarah looked around. "We can't fight them, Ethan. Not with tools and old machines." "Maybe not," he said, opening an old metal locker. "But we don't have to fight them directly." He pulled out a flare gun and an old EMP device, half-built, dusty. "Think this will do anything to their tech?" Sarah studied it. "If you overload the capacitor, maybe. But it will destroy everything in here." Ethan glanced around at his rusty tools and piles of scrap. "Worth it." He handed her a small receiver. "When I give the signal, run behind the shop. There's a tunnel under the shed. You'll come out near the dry riverbed. Keep moving." Sarah clutched the device, tightly. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan paused, then looked her in the eyes. "Because no one should ever be hunted for saying no." Sarah stared at him for a long moment. Her glowing eyes softened. "I will remember your name, Ethan." Then she leaned forward and pressed her forehead gently against his. It was a gesture unfamiliar to humans, but to her kind, it meant trust. Moments later, the sky turned red. The countdown was over. The black ship began descending, silent and massive. Ethan climbed to the rooftop with the flare gun. He aimed straight into the air and fired. A blazing streak of red fire tore through the sky. Then he hit the button on the EMP device. A boom exploded through the garage. Lights shattered, circuits fried, sparks flew everywhere. The black ship froze, midair flickering. That was all the time they needed. Sarah ran through the back, her silver skin shining like starlight under the moon. She reached the tunnel and vanished. On the rooftop, Ethan ducked as a blast shook the building. The ship had recovered. It was angry now, but it was too late. Sarah was gone. The craft hovered, scanned the garage again, then vanished into the night. Sky like smoke and wind. Ethan stood on the roof, coughing from smoke and dust. His garage was half destroyed. His tools were useless. But he smiled. They didn't get her. That night, Ethan slept with the stars watching above. Somewhere out there, a royal fugitive now ran free, and a mechanic from Earth had made enemies in the sky. Secrets under her. Skin the garage was dead. The lights had burned out. The smell of burned wires and scorched metal filled the air. Ethan sat on the floor beside the broken workbench, breathing slowly, chest rising with each painful breath. His fingers were black, with smoke and dust, but he was alive. Barely. The alien ship was gone. Sarah had escaped. But the device, it was still here. Ethan crawled to the toolbox under the floor, pulled it free, and opened the lid. The strange glowing device still pulsed, like it had a heartbeat. He stared at it. "What the hell are you?" Then, from the shadows, a voice answered. "She did not tell you?" Ethan jumped. A figure stood near the open back door, tall and cloaked in a dark coat that shimmered like oil in moonlight. His eyes glowed red. Not human. Ethan reached for his wrench, but the figure raised a hand. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be gone." Ethan froze. "Who are you?" he asked. The stranger stepped forward. "I am Kale. I was her guardian, before she ran." Ethan frowned. "You mean the one hunting her?" "No," Kale said quietly. "The one who warned her to flee." He looked down at the device in Ethan's hand. "She gave you the memory chain. That means she trusts you." Ethan stood slowly. "She said it's important. Life or death stuff." Kale nodded. "That's no ordinary storage unit. It's bonded to her bloodline. Inside that device are hidden codes, truths erased from history." "What kind of truths?" Kale's voice dropped. "The truth about her blood, about the power running through her veins. She's not just a royal, she's different." Ethan looked confused. "What do you mean?" Kyle walked to the center of the garage and pressed a small silver coin to the floor. A hologram shimmered into life. It showed Sarah, but not as she looked before. Her skin was glowing with runes. Her back had wings, not feathered but made of light. She was floating above a crowd of her people, all kneeling. "She's a hybrid," Kale explained. "Half of the old blood, the kind they tried to wipe out centuries ago. She wasn't just born with status, she was born with a choice to destroy the cycle or to repeat it." Ethan stared in silence. "She refused to marry the Chancellor's son," Kale went on, "because the union would mean total control, one ruler over all, and she refused to be used." Ethan nodded. "So they want her dead." Kale looked at him. "And now they want you dead too." Ethan clenched his fists. "Let them come." Kale studied him. "You're brave for a human. I'm just tired of people getting stepped on." Kale slowly walked toward the door. "She will return, for the device. But when she does, others will follow. Stronger ones. This was only the first wave." Ethan watched him leave. Before disappearing, Kale said one last thing. "She carries more than secrets. Look beneath her skin. If you truly want to help her, make her remember who she is." Then, he vanished into the wind. Hours later, as the sun rose, a quiet knock tapped against Ethan's ruined door. He opened it, and there she was. Sarah. She looked different now. Her silver skin was brighter. Her wounds had healed quickly, too quickly for a normal body. She stepped inside. Her eyes met his. "I saw the flare," she said, "and the EMP. You saved me again." Ethan grinned. "I'm getting good at it," but his smile faded. "Sarah, what's under your skin?" She blinked, unsure. He handed her the device. "You asked me to protect this." "I did. But someone came, said there's more to you, that you're not just royal." She held the device. Her hands trembled. "There is," she whispered. "I tried to forget. I didn't want it." Ethan waited. Quiet, letting her speak. "My mother wasn't from my world. She was from the lost ones, a race that was erased, hunted. But their power, it still flows in me." She rolled up her sleeve. Underneath her smooth skin were faint, glowing marks, symbols that pulsed slowly like a second heartbeat. "When I was young, they told me to hide it, to pretend to be pure, to follow the royal path. But when I refused the wedding, they said I was a threat." Ethan reached out and touched her arm gently. You're not a threat. You're a target. But you don't have to run forever. She looked up at him, tears in her glowing eyes. Then what do I do? Ethan stepped closer. You stand, hunted like an animal. The desert wind had changed. Ethan felt it the moment he stepped outside. It was too quiet. No birds. No insects. Just still, heavy air. Something was coming. Inside the garage, Sarah was checking the glowing device. Her fingers, brushing over symbols only she could understand. Her silver skin shimmered in the dim light, but her eyes were focused, no longer afraid. Ethan came in, face serious. They're close. Sarah looked up. How do you know? He nodded toward the horizon. No sound. No movement. It's like nature is holding its breath. Sarah stood. Then we must go. Ethan opened a rusted metal locker and pulled out a backpack. I packed water, food, power cells, and a signal jammer. Not much, but enough to run. Sarah hesitated. We've been running too long. Ethan met her eyes. We're not running. We're leading them away. I'll make sure you get to safety. You'll choose when to stop. They exited the garage just before sunset. The sky was a wash of red and orange, beautiful, yet heavy with danger. They walked for miles, avoiding roads, moving through dry creek beds, slipping through shadows. Behind them, silent shapes moved. Not vehicles, trackers. Tall, cloaked beings who walked without sound, scanning, with long fingers, eyes glowing faint blue. They've upgraded, Sarah whispered. Ethan nodded. How many? 3 I can feel, she replied. More will come if we're seen. Suddenly, a bright beam of light slammed into the ground behind them. Ethan grabbed Sarah's hand. Run! They sprinted across the rocks. The trackers gave chase, fast, inhumanly fast. A cliffside rose ahead. Sharp stone and narrow ledges. Ethan pulled Sarah behind a boulder. His chest heaved. We can't outrun them forever. Sarah held the device close. There's a cave, nearby. If we reach it, I can send a burst signal. One time only. Signal? To who? Ethan asked. She hesitated. To those who still believe in peace. The ones hiding in deep space. My mother's people. Ethan nodded. Then we get to that cave. They climbed. The rocks cut their hands. Dust filled their lungs, but they didn't stop. One tracker appeared below, scanning, searching. Another glided across the ridge, silent as smoke. Ethan whispered, Keep going. I'll slow them. Sarah turned, eyes wide. No. I'm just a mechanic, he said. You're the one with power. You don't get to decide that, she snapped. You matter too. But he was already pulling wires from his backpack, setting a small trap, an overloaded plasma battery. He looked at her. When it explodes, run, don't wait. Sarah stared at him, her eyes glowing with panic. Then slowly she placed her forehead against his. You are not just human, she whispered. You are brave. Then she ran. Ethan ducked behind a rock. The tracker appeared seconds later, scanning. Ethan threw the battery toward it. A flash of light. Boom! The explosion echoed across the cliffs. Dust, flame, smoke. Ethan rolled down the side, body scraped, ears ringing. But he was alive. Sarah reached the cave. Inside was dark, but her body glowed softly. She knelt and pressed the device to the stone wall. It lit up, sending out waves of soundless energy. Far above the planet, something stirred. Back on the cliff, Ethan limped into the cave, blood dripping from a cut on his brow. You made it, Sarah said. You too, he replied with a weak smile. Then a noise came from outside. The remaining tracker stood at the cave entrance. It growled something in a strange tongue and lifted its weapon. Sarah stood between it and Ethan. No, she said firmly. Her markings lit up. The cave walls glowed in answer. A wave of energy pushed out from her skin. The tracker froze. Then it dropped its weapon and ran. Sarah collapsed to her knees. Ethan rushed forward. "What just happened?" She gasped. "I remembered who I am." And then above them, a soft light descended through the cave opening. A ship unlike any Ethan had seen hovered silently. Smooth, silver, curved like a bird in flight. Voices called in a strange, beautiful language. Sarah looked at Ethan. "You gave me time, you gave me belief, I can't repay that." "You don't have to," Ethan said. "Just live." She smiled. "I'll do more than live." She reached for his hand. "Come with me." The choice that saves a world. The ship hovered like a dream in the sky, silent, smooth, and glowing with soft light. Its silver hull reflected the moon, almost blending into the stars above. It didn't hum or roar. It breathed. Ethan had seen a lot of strange machines in his life. But this was something else. Sarah stood beside him, her skin glowing brighter than ever. Her silver hair moved without wind. Her eyes were full of something new. Purpose. "These are my people," she whispered. "The ones who survived in exile. Hidden, waiting for a sign." Ethan looked at the ship, then back at her. "You called them?" She nodded. The memory device sent a pulse to deep space. Only a few would hear it, only the loyal ones. A gentle ramp lowered from the ship. Figures stepped out. Tall, elegant aliens with markings like Sarah's, but older. Their clothes shimmered with woven stars. One of them stepped forward, a woman with hair like white flame. "Daughter of Yiren," she said, bowing. "We have come." Sarah took a deep breath. "I need your help. Not just to survive, but to change everything." The woman's eyes widened. "You would claim your right?" Sarah nodded. "Not for power, for peace." Ethan watched quietly. He didn't understand everything, but he knew this was big. Sarah turned to him. "I need you, Ethan." He raised an eyebrow. "Me? I'm just a guy with tools and a broken garage." "You're the one who helped me when no one else would," she said. "You didn't know who I was. You didn't ask for anything, that's why I trust you." She stepped closer. "Come with me. Help me speak for Earth. Show them that humans are more than what the stars fear." Ethan looked at the ship, at the strangers waiting, at the stars above. It was all too much. But then he remembered the night he found her, bleeding in the dust, whispering for help. And he remembered the words she once said. "They hunt me like prey." "Not anymore." He took her hand. "I'll go, but I don't do speeches." She smiled. "I'll speak. You stand beside me." The moment Ethan stepped onto the ship, the floor shifted beneath him, smooth and warm. The others nodded at him, not with judgment, but respect. The door closed behind them. Earth grew smaller in the window. Inside the ship, they moved through, a chamber glowing with light and memory. Holograms of worlds, battles, families, lost and preserved, floated around them. Sarah placed the memory device into a slot in the center console. A wave of light pulsed outward. The ship shuddered. "What's happening?" Ethan asked. "It's unlocking the truth," Sarah replied. "About the marriage, about the hidden genocide, about the royal lies." The images appeared. Sarah as a child marked by prophecy. Secret meetings where elders discussed her fate. Orders signed to erase her bloodline quietly. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. "They wanted to erase you, just for being born." Sarah nodded. "Now everyone will see." The elder woman spoke. "This truth can't be unseen. Once shared, war may follow." Sarah raised her chin. "Then let them try. But they'll know who I am." The ship changed course. It now headed to the Grand Spire, a space city where the High Council ruled, a place where truths were buried under gold. Ethan stood at the viewing screen. The stars blurred around them. "You sure about this?" he asked. Sarah came beside him. "I was once hunted, hiding, alone. But now, with you beside me, I choose to be seen." And Ethan, A human mechanic who once fixed broken trucks now stood beside a would-be queen ready to save her world. Return of the one she trusts. 3 weeks had passed since the sky lit up with fire. 3 weeks since the royal data burst exploded across the galaxy, revealing secrets long buried, hidden crimes, broken treaties, and the truth of one runaway, alien girl with ancient light in her blood. Her name was now spoken on every world, Sarah. Some called her a rebel. Some called her a savior. But to Ethan, she was just the girl he refused to leave behind. He was back on Earth now, his garage mostly fixed. The old solar panels buzzed again. The broken windows had been patched, and even the walls had fresh paint, but the place felt empty. No glowing eyes, no quiet footsteps at night. No strange questions about toasters or why humans eat food that burns their mouths. Just silence. Ethan sat on the steps of his workshop one evening staring up at the stars. He didn't regret going with her. He didn't regret coming back. But part of him missed her. Then, just as the sun dipped behind the hills, a soft hum filled the air. At first he thought it was a memory, a trick of sound. Then he stood. The sky split open, not loud, not violent, just a smooth silver line across the clouds. A familiar ship descended, shaped like a bird in flight. Ethan didn't move. He just waited. The ramp lowered slowly, and there she was. Sarah stepped down, dressed in smooth silver robes laced with dark lines that pulsed like quiet thunder. Her eyes still glowed, but now, there was calm in them. Behind her, no guards. No elders, no high council members, just her. She walked to him without speaking. Ethan broke the silence. "You look like royalty now," she smiled. "I am royalty now." He raised an eyebrow. "Did you win?" Sarah nodded softly. "I didn't have to fight. The truth did it for me. The ones who hunted me stepped down. Others stood beside me." "And Earth?" he asked. She stepped closer. "I spoke of your kindness, your courage, your people." She pulled out a small silver ring, not for marriage but a mark of peace, the kind only shared between two worlds after war. They accepted Earth as a protected world under the Accord, free to choose, free to speak. Ethan stared. "All that from one rescue?" She nodded. "One choice can echo across stars." Then she paused. "But I didn't come here to talk about politics." Ethan tilted his head. "No?" She shook her head. "I came for you." He blinked. "Me?" She stepped closer, her voice gentle. "You stood in the fire for me, when I had no name, no title, and no one. You didn't ask what I could give. You just held out your hand." She looked up at him, eyes soft. "Now I want to offer mine." He looked at her, really looked. This wasn't the broken girl from the highway anymore. This was a leader, a flame that refused to die. And still, she was his Sarah. He took her hand. "Where are we going this time?" he asked. She smiled. "Wherever you want. The stars are open now." He stepped toward the ship with her. Before climbing the ramp, he turned back to the garage one last time. It was where he had fixed engines, where he'd lived small, quiet, where he had saved a life, and where his world had changed forever. Now he walked with her into the stars, the human, the runaway royal, and a bond forged not by blood, but by trust.